We get a fireball on the Golden Knight and Flying Machine. Tesla is basically dead, so we're gonna have to, what the hell did I just watch? The true measure of a player's talent is consistency. Constant performance at a top level over a long period of time. Standing strong and unwavering in even the worst metas. Performing well against all the new broken cards released every season. Betfas is consistent. He's the greatest 3.0 Xbow cycle player in the world and has finished #1 on ladder with 3.0 Xbow cycle twice this year alone. Today, the Betfas series continues, as Betfas has once again stood strong and placed as the highest 3.0 Xbow cycle finisher in the world, standing strong at #7 and overcoming the worst meta of 2025. You all loved this series and always look forward to it every month, so here I am happily delivering and providing all of his season-end games to showcase this achievement. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. We are here with your most adored series here on the SK555 channel. We are watching Betfas during the final hours of season end on top ladder. As you saw, he is currently in his game for 3,800 medals. Just so you guys know, the next highest ranked 3.0 Xbow cycle player, my friend 7-4, is at 3,400. So Betfas is 400 medals above the next 3.0 Xbow cycle player, and this is generally one of the worst metas we've ever seen for 3.0, being filled with the new broken cards, Spirit Empress, Evo Furnace, and Goblin Giant decks. So I am here to bring you Betfas' gameplay from season end to show you how he pilots the 3.0 Xbow cycle deck to the very top against the best players in the world. Speaking of which, we are into our first match here against Osama, and this is again the game for 3,800 medals. I believe Betfas will be #2 in the world if he gets this win, but that is a big if, my friends, because this is Royal Recruits, and I think you know better than me exactly how bad Royal Recruits can be for 3.0 Xbow cycle. This is one of the most hated matchups I've ever seen in my community. I constantly get people wondering how to play against this matchup, and that's exactly why we're showing Betfas, because here we're going to see exactly how it's done at the peak of ladder. So Osama is one of the best Royal Recruits players in the entire world. I know generally we say this is a low skill deck and it's not very talented, doesn't require much ability to pilot, but he is one of the best players. He does have top 10 finishes with this deck, and so it's just going to be good to see how Betfas deals with this matchup. With my own personal opinion, I don't think you will ever be getting an Expo lock in this matchup. I mean, look at the opponent's deck, right? Recruits as the main tank, then you have the Goblin Cage as a building that spawns a Goblin Brawler, both of which will tank for the Expo, and of course you have the Golden Knight, which not only gives him a 3-card cycle, it will also counter archers, it'll counter skeletons, and just be invulnerable to dash onto the Expo. So with all those combined, you can see Betfas did actually spend single elixir, going for a fair amount of Expos, but not really too much avail. Really nicely timed log, waiting for the Golden Knight dash ability to end, and we're just going to see if Betfas can defend perfectly for the rest of the game, because ultimately what this comes down to is perfect defense and spell cycle. There's a general rule of thumb with 3.0 Expo cycle, and that's if you can't break through, you will win with spell cycle, and I believe that is what we're going to see with Betfas here today, because it's just not going to be possible for him to break through. What I find interesting is Osama has not played his Flying Machine ever in this game so far, and just in the same vein, Betfas has played his first Fireball of the game 2.5 minutes into the match. I guess as soon as he plays that, Osama does pop that Flying Machine at the bridge down. Betfas happy to go with a Bridge Tesla. I want you guys to pay attention to every single thing that Betfas does, even the smallest details, because these are what set him apart from everyone else, including myself. I get this question quite a lot. Why can't I be like Betfas? Why is he so high and no one else is? He's just different, guys. He's the best Expo cycle player in the world for a reason. He is different, and he just does things that no one else can think of. One of them was that Tesla. I don't really play Teslas in the corner like that in this matchup, but Betfas seems to be happy to do that. And you will see here that he does go for the log fireball on those 3 recruits, half the recruits, and that is a play that you make in this matchup once you're late game, not early. You can see that he didn't want to start the spell cycle too early on, and Osama calling the early good game, which is kind of crazy because you would think it would be the other way around. Betfas would be calling the good game, waving the white flag, and saying that, oh, I can't break through, I guess it's over. But no, Osama calls the good game like the game is already over because Betfas will be able to just defend and survive for the rest of the match. And this is looking pretty common and pretty likely at this point, actually. Betfas has not let a single pig touch his tower. I believe it's just been arrow cycles by Osama here. New Tesla pops up with that nice Tesla pulse. We get a beautiful fireball on everything in the middle. You can see Betfas is not afraid to go for fireballs on defense. He's only played one fireball on the tower so far. Very nice play splitting the archers behind the king tower there. As you can see, Osama is forced to go for the arrows to take out the evil archers, which does activate the king tower. Betfas with the fireball log in the left this time, because that is 4 recruits, so it's still pretty valuable to get that off, even if it's in the opposite lane. And now again, just needs to survive for the rest of this 30-second interval in triple elixir. So this might have been one of the best games I've ever seen against recruits. It's not over yet. Let's see how he defends this final push. Again, log fireball on everything. Everything just disappears and melts, and Betfas is back to a third Evo Tesla right up high, right in the middle. And as you can see, Osama did not have a chance at breaking through whatsoever. He knew it even 2 minutes ago. This is just absurd. I mean, this matchup is so hard, and you would not think you can win, but Betfas just played perfect. He didn't play Xbows. He didn't play defensive Xbows either. He just played perfect cycling, perfect defense the entire way through, and beat the best recruits player in the entire world in this matchup. And that is going to put Betfas at number 2 in the entire world during the final end of the season. There's only 1 hour left. Alright, Betfas is in a game against SK Morton, and you guys are in an SK555 video. Only a small percentage of people that watch my channel are actually subscribed, so if you enjoy the content, especially this incredible season end series with Betfas where I bring him on and showcase his gameplay every single month against the best players in the world, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free and it would really help me out, plus it lets me know that you guys want to see more videos just like this one. Now back into this game where Betfas is up against Morton playing Miner Poison, which I would argue to be the most broken deck in the entire game this season, playing with the Mighty Miner, the Minions, and the Evo Cannon. Betfas gets that Knight in the back, perfect E-Spirit for the Minions in the middle, and it looks like he's setting up for another Expo to outcycle the Poison. Morton is still 2 cards away. Betfas does go for the Archers and gets the Expo down aggressively. Morton in a bit of trouble right now because that Knight Archer push is no joke. Miner Wallbreakers comes down, Betfas gets a perfect lock, and the Archer actually snipes that Wallbreaker with that beautiful log, catching them perfectly. As you can see, Minions are so broken that they take out an Expo before they even cross the bridge, but it doesn't even matter because Betfas took out half of Morton's tower before Morton is able to do anything about it. So beautiful outcycle by Betfas there, and Morton definitely messed up with that defense. Has to log that E-Spirit too, just a nice -1 trade for Morton and a good trade for Betfas, knowing that the skeletons were out of cycle. Just all these small things really add up. And so now, Morton is still in this game, but he's going to have a lot of ground to cover. I think this really is the most broken deck in the game right now, by the way, because Mighty Miner 3-card cycle is crazy, and Minions are just a top 3 card in the game with that broken range. Again, they can literally defend an Expo before they even cross the bridge, as you can see again. So they're just a lot of trouble to deal with. Betfas does get a really nice fireball off on those Minions, but Morton does manage to get that defense off. Of course, Miner just takes out the Expo. Evil Wallbreakers at the bridge will force out a Tesla. That's just a -2, but against the evil Wallbreakers, you really don't have a choice but to go for a Tesla if you don't have Login Cycle. If you do have Login Cycle, you can go E-Spirit Log to full counter them, if you guys did not know, but Betfas just takes that safe Tesla, of course. Minions will come at the bridge by Morton to predict an Expo. Betfas playing patient, just splits his evil Archers, and Morton begins the Poison Cycle, and now you guys might think it's counterintuitive, but Betfas will be switching lanes to the right side, as you can see, because you don't want to give them poison value on your weak side tower and your Expo. So if Betfas went Expo on the left, Morton would have been able to stall out, cycle back to a poison, and just poison out the left side tower. Betfas does get a beautiful lock on the right, even though that Evo Cannon did take out the Evo Archers, which is another reason this matchup is so hard. Betfas just ignores that Miner poison aggressively on the left and goes for an Expo instead. And Morton's in a bit of trouble here because he's quite low on elixir. He was very aggressive with that Miner poison push, and Betfas is just going to be punishing for it. Morton has nothing in cycle, gets those Minions down, and Betfas reacts super fast, gets that beautiful E-Spirit plus Evo Tesla, and Morton calls a good game, knows that it's over. Betfas catches that Miner, Evo Tesla gets that pulse reset, and Morton gives a well played. This is absolutely insane. Betfas just destroying Morton in this matchup. Don't even know what to say about that. That was incredibly well done. And that final win against Morton is going to finalize Betfas's finish at number 7. Okay, Betfas is in a game against Oly Royale #1, and I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea who this player is, and he's also playing the Chef Tower, so that, to me, points to one thing: he's playing Goblin Giant P.E.K.K.A. And it's not even meant to be an insult or offensive, it's just a fact. Like, this deck is boosted and broken beyond knowledge, broken beyond meaning, and as you can see, it is going to be that deck with the broken Goblin Curse as well. You know, the Curse is such a cool spell. I feel kind of bad, because they're gonna nerf it and remove the damage amplification, but I feel like it was really such a fun concept, and it's quite sad that it had to be ruined by these P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant players. But Betfas has the same goal. He wants to ruin this P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant player, and let's see how he can do it. Now, this is one of the most annoying matchups in the entire game for Expo Cycle. I would say it's up there with Recruits, because this matchup is just really difficult with the Chef Tower. It levels stuff up, as you can see, level 16 Goblin Machine, and it just modifies interactions beyond a known realm. So, P.E.K.K.A. at level 16 will two-shot your level 15 Knight, whereas a Knight is supposed to always survive 2 P.E.K.K.A. hits and survive on 1 HP, so just kind of changing things, it's ridiculous, but we'll see how we can get this done. We get a nice Evo Tesla to help out against that Goblin Giant, and Oly Royale will just choose to let that push go. Betfas with a beautiful defense. As you can see, cycle the Tesla super early on, so he's able to get back to the Evo Tesla in the first minute and a half of the game, and he's also back to Evo Archers in the next cycle as well, I believe. Knight actually does get a hit against the Chef Tower. Evo Archers will get split, and Oly Royale just cycles a Bomber in the back. Betfas might go for an Expo to capitalize on these Evo Archers. At the same time, he might be patient. Nope, there is the Expo opposite lane to that Evo, or Goblin Giant rather, and we actually see a Lightning. Oh my goodness. But Betfas with a beautiful Knight kites that Goblin Machine out of range, and so just like that, he will get a small lock, also forcing a Rage out on the left side on that bow. Espirit will pressure with this Knight, forcing out a Fisherman as well. You can see that something Betfas does that many other players don't is pressuring with troops at the bridge, and not only Expos. So what I mean by that is he'll support a low HP Knight with an E-Spirit like that, or he'll go Knight Archers when the opponent has a bad cycle. We saw that against Morton. Just all these small things that really add up, and overall this is what separates Betfas from the rest, and this is what makes a truly talented 3.0 Xbow cycle player. Someone else that does the same thing is my good friend Titan. Back when I used to watch him a lot, that was something he would do as well, and oh my goodness, what in the world did I just witness? That was an insane Goblin Curse, I'm not gonna lie. There were like 6 Goblins on the board, but Betfas does survive, but the Lightning is what's really throwing me for a loop right now, because there is just no realm in which you can match up with this spell cycle using fireballs and logs. I mean, Lightning Rage Curse is a 3-spell combination, and the lightning damage will just be way too high. Really interesting pushing mechanics going on as well over there, but Betfas gets that defense done, goes for a nicely defended push, and gets an Expo to counter push after the fact. We'll have the Evo Archers as well, but you'll actually have to let this die because that Bomber was already on the Expo, unfortunately, so Evo Archers not getting too much value yet, but they will be able to melt the entire P.E.K.K.A. and good protection with that E-Spirit. Again, exactly what I was talking about, this Knight Archers push that Betfas is doing, and this is something that just not a lot of players might be going for, but it's something that players with elite game knowledge like Betfas decide to go for. Knight Archers, Knight E-Spirit, Knight Skeletons. Keep that in mind, because it is something that just genuinely sets them apart. And Evo Goblin Giant is forced out. You can also see, again, the same principle as always. Betfas pressuring opposite lane to the tower that he has lower HP on, because he just does not want to give the opponent free lightning value on his already low HP tower. It's just kind of a nice way to play the game, and a really beautiful E-Spirit will get that pressure in. Entering triple elixir, I have no idea how Betfas plans to get the spell cycle going. Looks like he's actually going to go for pressure with the Expo, Knight Archers as well, and just trying to force out as much elixir as he can opposite lane so that the opponent cannot spell cycle, because, I mean, let's face it, Lightning Rage Curse will out-damage Fireball Log, so this is the only alternative Betfas sees. We get a nice Log E-Spirit to kill that Bomber, and an actual Fireball cycle on that Goblin Machine is pretty crazy to me. We'll see a Fisherman come down as well, and an Evo Goblin Giant will be really tough to defend. Betfas probably has to go for a high Tesla here, because the Lightning just means if he goes for a low Tesla, it's free Lightning value no matter what, and a Naked Lightning does come down, literally not hitting anything. Betfas doesn't care, he goes for a Naked Fireball back. Goblin Giant just barely does not get a hit on the tower, but one Spear Goblin does, and Betfas is down by 30 HP. He needs to get 2 more Fireballs. Can he get that done? Fireball number 1 does come down. Naked Lightning by the opponent. Curse plus Rage coming soon as well. Betfas needs to cycle. He is back to the Fireball, and in the extreme last second of the match, he steals it and wins against P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant with Lightning. Not just P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant, but P.E.K.K.A. Goblin Giant with Lightning. I'm actually speechless. What an insanely well-played match right there. That is incredible. Don't let the name on the top fool you. Code Big Spin is actually Dominik, the greatest Lava Hound player of all time, widely regarded by the community, and probably playing Lava Hound Spirit Empress, which is actually going to be very tough. Normally, Lava Hound is always a good matchup for 3.0 Xbow cycle, but number one, as you can see, the minions can take out the Xbow without crossing the bridge, whether that was in the middle or at the river. Number two, Spirit Empress is just a broken card in general, so the matchup actually does change quite a bit now, because Spirit Empress can just cause a lot of problems. Betfas is not back to Xbow, so what does he do? He goes for the Night Skelly's opposite lane. That is an important macro play against Lava Hound, where if you don't have an Xbow in hand, you can still pressure lightly, and as you can see, he did force out a Valkyrie, so you don't want them to be able to commit as much elixir to their Lava Hound push. Tesla does come down in the corner, because if a Tesla was played in the middle, it would get sniped by the Spirit Empress. Just a little bit of a matchup thing that affected the reason he played the Tesla there in this matchup. Nice E-Spirit Knight to retarget that miner, protect the Tesla, and that way Betfas just defends pretty well. Does take a bit of Valkyrie damage in the left, but it was kind of a necessity, better than taking a lot more damage from that Lava Hound push. And this Tombstone is actually going to be a bit of a problem in this match because it's just kind of an annoying card sitting there and constantly tanking. Doom, as you can see, will actually go for the zap to reset that Archer and keep that Tombstone alive, because it just means that he can't go for an Expo, Betfas that is, that much longer. And so a log will come down on the tower, cycling by both players. Doom is going for the curse cycled. Doom's last card, again, will be the Spirit Empress, so just going to be an interesting matchup here. Split Evo Archers by Betfas, just deciding he can go in either lane. I think we might see an Expo one side, Knight the other side, if I'm not mistaken. We will actually see that in the same lane, because Doom does go for a pretty aggressive Valkyrie in the left, naturally trying to switch lanes and tower trade entirely. As you can see, he ignores the Expo, the Knight and Evo Archer, and just goes for a Spirit Empress push with the miner as well, but Betfas will defend. I'm getting some crazy lag right now, but Betfas does defend and keeps his tower and gets that BM in, because if you guys did not know, these players do not like each other very much. Betfas goes for the Expo right with that Lava Hound. As you can see, minions are problematic though. Minions plus Evo Zap will take out that Tesla and the Expo, so I'm not entirely sure that was worth it by Betfas, because minions are just, again, so broken against Expo after their recent buff. Although with the Evo Zap forced out, these archers are pretty invincible and can't really be killed. Evo Valk will be pulling them up, but they still get a lot of value. Miner will come down, and Betfas doesn't really have too much of a choice here to defend this. This might be really tough, because Doom is back to the Zap now. We'll see a Curse plus Zap come in on those archers, and even though Betfas did have the Evo Tesla, it was not enough to defend, and just like that, we are suddenly in tower trade territory, and Betfas is going to be in for a tough one, because Expo cycle as a whole is a pretty tough archetype to play in a tower trade situation. Spirit Empress cycled by Doom. Archers in the middle by Betfas. Some crazy predictions coming in. Might see a Fireball on those minions plus Valkyrie. No, we'll just see Skellies, because that Tesla is still pretty healthy, helping out against everything. But as you can see, it's just kind of problematic. And Doom does protect that Empress with a nicely placed Lava Hound. This is going to be a difficult push for Betfas to stop. Knight will come down perfectly. Spirit Empress just has infinite range, man. I swear it's so difficult to gather when that will be attacking. But Betfas does get that off. Beautiful Fireball as well, and that should be a pretty well defended push, although the Empress will get one huge swing on the King Tower. Each hit hits like a truck, and so Betfas cannot afford to take any more hits. This is a really good game for you guys to watch to see how to handle a tower trade, by the way, because generally it's just advisable and preferred to never let this happen in the first place, but it does happen from time to time. Betfas does get a baby Expo Lock, just about 200 damage coming in there, and Evo Zap saved by Doom to kill those Evo Archers. Betfas has to cycle all the way back to a new pair of archers ASAP. Again, this corner Tesla is placed because of that Spirit Empress. If you played a Tesla in the middle, the Empress would get on top, but the Empress is getting on top of the tower, and Doom with the BM, because now he's in the lead, and this looks really bad for Betfas. Can he bring this back? He's going to Fireball the Tombstone, but he has to also get an Expo Lock. Fireball cycle itself will not be enough. Doom cycles a Lava the back, Betfas with the Pressure Expo, Knight for a Valkyrie, which will get it picked up, Archers as well, and Doom is going to defend this Expo with an Empress, but the question is when. Betfas gets an Evo Tesla down, Empress does come down, and actually gets melted by the Archers and the Evo Tesla helping out together. Another fireball cycled on that tombstone. Valkyrie forced on the Xbow. As you can see, Betfas with that amazing pressure did not let Doom go for much on his offensive Lava Hound push, and he's back to another Lava Hound, but there's only 10 seconds left. Can Betfas survive? The Lava Hound is going to lock on to the tower, but the Knight does pick up that miner. Fireball cycle by Betfas. I can't see the HP on the tower. It's actually less, but he gets a log as well. And just like that, Betfas gets the win in a tower trade situation against the best Lava Hound player in the world, gives it to him with the BM as well, letting him know that is how I win in a tower trade situation. Oh my God, this video just keeps getting better and better, and I'm not even talking about for you guys to watch because I just know that's a fact, but I'm talking about for me to record because this is going to be absolute cinema. We have Betfas versus Fan, two of the greatest one tricks of all time, playing against each other with OG decks. If you guys do not know Fan, he is the best Miner Balloon Cycle player in the world, has a top 10 finish with Miner Balloon Cycle, and Betfas obviously has a number 1, has two number 1 finishes with 3.0 Xbow cycle. Knight does catch that miner, E-Spirit Tesla will take out the Musketeer, and this is going to be a great match because there's been a lot of debate about this matchup recently, myself included within that debate because I have actually practiced with Fan a lot, and he actually kind of clapped me, he destroyed me, but I learned a lot about the matchup, and I truly do think that with E-Spirit it's worse than if Xbow had Ice Spirit because the longer freeze actually matters a lot against Miner and Balloon. So I think this matchup is either even or slightly for Balloon, but of course it goes either way. Balloon players think the opposite. Fan thinks Xbow has matchup because of Evo Archers and the Fireball cycle, whereas Balloon does not have a big spell. At the same time, Snowball does out-damage Log since the multiple Log nerfs that came in, so just a lot of consideration here. Loon the back by Fan and Evo Archers by Betfas too. Fan will get a miner down, and Fan does get that Evo Muskie on the Evo, or on the normal Tesla rather, and one of the Evo Archers. That's going to be death damage. Fan, again, one of the best Miner Balloon Cycle players of all time, and the thing about him is that his Evo Musketeers always hit exactly what he wants. Look at that beautiful play by both sides. Betfas goes for a pre-log, trying to hit those Evo Skeletons. Fan knows that Betfas has log in cycle and might go for the pre-log, plays Evo Skeletons to the side to avoid a log. Just insane gameplay by both sides entirely. Now we see an Expo by Betfas as the Archers will take out that miner. Evo Tesla on that bomb tower. We will see Skellies to catch that bar barrel as well. And Fan is in a bit of trouble right now. I don't think he's back to his Evo Musketeer, so it's going to be pretty tough actually. Miner Snowball does come down though, and as you can see, it's pretty impossible to defend. But Betfas still gets a mini Expo lock. I don't understand how. Fireball on that Ice Golem as well, but Ice Golem with that HP buff just stalls forever. Such a big, snowy buddy, and that is just gonna result in no Knight hits for Betfas, unfortunately. Miner does get picked up by the Skeletons and then the Knight after the Snowball. Very well played by both sides again, and Fan does have the damage lead, so this is not going to be easy. We see a defensive Expo come down opposite lane to Fan's push, and the reason he shoves it over by one to the side is so that a balloon placed in the bypass placement will not bypass that Expo, because if you guys did not know, if you play this defensive Expo one more tile to the right, or one more tile to the left rather, in the middle, the balloon played in the absolute most corner of the right will be able to bypass it. So those placements are the perfect defense Expo placements that you want to use in balloon cycle matchups. Barb Barrel is so tough to defend. E-Spirit will come down to predict those Evo Skellies though, and Betfas will get 2 power shots for his troubles, but honestly, what's the point? I mean, he still has a lot of HP left to take over in the left, so I don't think he's going to be switching to that lane, so just a flashy play with unfortunately not much to show for it. Fan does get even more minor damage, and that pre-bomb tower is so annoying. Low bomb tower is one of the most annoying plays to deal with as an Expo player. Another defensive Expo will come down. Betfas just trying to build an advantage. Fan gets the balloon on the Expo immediately, just trying to take it out. Archers will take out the balloon, and Knight does catch that miner. Very well played, and that's going to be no miner hits on the tower. Now the question is, does Betfas go Expo or does he spell cycle? And I think the question, or the answer to that question rather, is that he will spell cycle. Evo Muskie by Fan, and doesn't actually get on the Tesla, so Betfas could block, but just chooses to let it go instead. Evo Muskie going the right side. Fan trying to use that it still has 1 bullet left to help out. E-Spirit will come down on those Evo Skellies. Archers as well. One will get nuked out of orbit by that Evo Musketeer, but not a big deal. The right side is very healthy, and Betfas for the first time in this game does have the damage lead, but this push is looking pretty problematic with a balloon, barb barrel, and snowball coming down on those skeletons, which, as you can see, minor snowball is so hard to deal with as an Xbow player because it just snowballs your skeletons off, and it snowballs the knight out as well. E-Spirit does catch that minor. Skellies come after. Perfect timing between the snowball and the skeletons, and Evo Archers are now here for this next balloon. We need a high Tesla to pull this balloon away. E-Spirit will catch that miner again. Betfas with the perfectly timed E-Spirit Skellies on those miners gets the fireball in the last second. As you can see, BM flinging in from both sides, both players happy or upset about the way the matchup went. I have to say though, Betfas played a perfect game, especially catching those miners. Alright, Betfas versus Sandbox. This is going to be a great one. Sandbox, a world-class player, has played on the CRL stage numerous times. Oh, let me just tab out and get back in this game real quick, guys, because the graveyard and night renders on Sandbox's side were glitched, and I personally just don't like showing those glitched cards in my videos. I think it's just a bit of a lower quality thing, and you know me, my videos always have to be the highest quality they can be. Sandbox playing Graveyard, one of the most broken archetypes of all time in this game, honestly, and he is a very good player. So those two coming together is a very scary thought for Betfas. I think this matchup is going to be pretty tough. Sandbox's last 3 cards, he's going to have the Goblin Hut, and he should have a Poison as well. And so the problem is he has an Evo Knight. He might even have an Evo Ice Spirit, by the way, to slow things down. I'm not sure, because that's only 1 Evo so far. But yeah, this is just going to be pretty tough, because it's never easy to break through when they have an Evo Knight. And Sandbox does have the Poison Barb Barrel to just kind of stall out and defend an Expo, as you can see right here. Low Barb Barrel will come down late, and there's just nothing Betfas can do about it. Even if he goes for the Skelly's Log, he literally gets no damage because Sandbox knows how to defend, and it's just really tough. Like, Betfas had perfect micro. He caught the Barb Barrel. He had Evo Archers helping out. It just was not enough. But I guess one good thing about this is that Sandbox was forced to play his Evo Knight there because Berserker and Ice Wiz were already used defending the Expo. So not having an Evo Knight is just going to be pretty helpful for Betfas in his future Expo pushes. So I think that's not the worst thing in the world for Betfas right now. We see a nice high Tesla, which will snipe that hut. Oh, of course, I forgot about the Furnace. How could I forget about the Furnace? The Furnace is the last card in this deck, and that's going to be really problematic because Evo Furnace is a top 3 card in the game as well. So, you know, just broken cards on broken cards. We'll see how Betfas likes to deal with the Furnaces, though. Against the Evo Furnace, I'm pretty sure he will just get those fireballs off, but we'll have to see. Berserker, such a pesky card as well, honestly very underrated, and that's going to be pretty problematic because it is kind of a mini tank that just lets Sandbox defend these graveyards even further. We see the E-Spirit with that nice Archer, nice little counter push forcing out a Berserker, +1 trade for Betfas, and he's all the way back to his Evo Archers, which he's just cycling to very quickly. High Goblin Hut by Sandbox will mean that Betfas cannot get a fireball off on the hut and the tower, so instead just chooses to take the fireball off on the Ice Wizard, and you see the first fireball of the day on the tower. And that's not going to be the last either, because this matchup is very much spell cycle based, and pretty much the only damage I think Betfas will be able to get in this match will be from fireballs. Perfect graveyard defense is actually insane. 1 Archer and just well played micro on that graveyard to just take no skeleton hits. Literally not a single skeleton hit came in, and so because of that beautiful defense, Betfas is in the lead. We'll see another fireball come down, fireball number 2, and there'll be plenty more where that came from. We see a defensive Expo actually, Betfas choosing to slow the game down, take it at his own pace, and just take the spell cycle route, because honestly just constantly going in against Graveyard is not the move. You will see that especially in a matchup like this one where they have the Evo Knight and countless other Expo counters like the Furnace and the Barb Barrel and the Berserker, you actually do want to go for more defensive Expos and fireballs instead of just constantly going in. We see a nice fireball on that Ice Wiz plus Furnace, 7 elixir for 4, not bad value, and now a Graveyard will come down again. Betfas does actually get a nice Knight off. Archers will turn around and help, and again Betfas defends this Graveyard for 0 skeleton hits. I cannot believe it. This is just pristine Graveyard defense, and if he can keep that up, he can actually maybe get this win just with some fireballs. So fireball cycle again does come in at the same time though. Evo Furnace on the left, so Betfas has to cycle all the way back to another fireball for that Evo Furnace. We see the Archers come down. We see a Fireball, yes, it will come down. Skellies as well, and an E-Spirit, and that will be once more, I believe, 0 graveyard hits for Sandbox, and so Betfas is actually still in a damage deficit because Poison cycled is pretty tough. Now Betfas' patience paying off, he has a defensive Expo helping out, and he catches that Barbell with the Knight, and Sandbox is all but forced to go for a Poison on this Expo. He will not, so Betfas just goes for a Fireball. Evo Tesla on the graveyard is absolutely huge because you can see it's great against the graveyard, and Sandbox gets a very late Poison down, but way too late. Expo still going strong, actually didn't really get anything out of it, but a Fireball does come down by Betfas. He should be able to cycle back to one more Fireball. Evo Tesla Pulse will come down. We will see a nice Fireball at the very last second, as well as a log, and that might have been one of the cleanest games I've ever seen in my life against Graveyard. Like, genuinely, that Graveyard defense was insane. And these players also don't like each other very much, so Betfas does get that BM in, but that was just ridiculous. That was some really well done Graveyard defenses. Okay, Betfas versus Newbie. This is going to be a good one because Newbie is playing Goblin Drill, and I feel like this is a matchup that you guys might not talk about or think about much, but it's one that you need to because this matchup is actually very difficult. It doesn't seem like it on paper. They don't have a Knight, they have a Berserker instead in this meta, but generally, Goblin Drill decks are no different than Miner Poison decks, with the exception of Drill just getting more damage than Miners because of that Evo Snowball. Again, it's pretty much undefendable. Also, not to mention the Evo Cannon, which just one-shots your Evo Archers without any recourse, so it's pretty problematic. We get a very nice Fireball by Betfas trying to catch Newbie off guard, but Newbie, a pretty good player in his own right, knows about that play, doesn't get caught off guard, and unfortunately for Betfas, he does not get that off, and so now Newbie has 2 poisons on both sides of the board, and Betfas has 0 damage, 0 logs, 0 fireballs on either side of Newbie's towers. So this is going to be a tough matchup. And I think the fundamentals of this matchup are, number 1, utilizing your fireballs, because spell cycle in a matchup like Miner Poison and Drill Poison is always paramount. Pretty much just any matchup that you can't break through with your Expos, spell cycle should be a consideration, should be something that you're thinking about as an Expo player. Number 2, we're going to have to see perfect drill defense at all times. As you can see, that was not perfect micro. Newbie gets a couple of Goblin stabs in there, and so now the lead is catapulted even further with Betfas being down 800. We need to see better defenses. We can't really see any more sloppy defenses, otherwise this game is just going to be over before we even know it. As you can see, Snowball, Poison, Cycle, and just constant spam and stall, and the Expo is dead just like that, and that's why the matchup is so annoying, because it's just impossible to break through if they know what they're doing. Doesn't matter if they don't have a Knight. They have the Evo Cannon, they have a Berserker, which is pretty underrated for its elixir, honestly, and it's honestly just not going to be easy at all to break through in this match. So at this point, Betfas does have to break through, though. He gets a nice, not a nice Fireball. It looks like he predicted something and doesn't get it off because it actually doesn't hit the tower. It looks like he was maybe trying to get a prediction on a Fire Spirit or a cannon that's out of Fireball range. That's why I played it out of range intentionally. I refuse to believe he would intentionally miss the tower with a Fireball, or just a mistake, of course. We do see a really nice drill defense on the right, though, and now that Newbie has a lot of damage in the right, Betfas doing what he does, switching to the left lane instead. As I've talked about so many times, you don't want to give them spell value on your weak side tower and your Expo. And now we see some very nice dual lane pressure. One side, Knight plus 2 Evo Archers, and one side does have an Expo constantly whittling away. Betfas back to another Expo, even though that is in his weak side tower. I think he'll use this to cycle back to a third Expo and get back over there. So E-Spirit does connect as well. Doesn't mean too much, but anything helps, right? Archers, Betfas is 1 card away from an Expo. We should see a Tesla, and now we'll see an Expo in the left immediately because he does need to get this pressure going. And right about now, yes, there we go. Like I told you guys, I know what's going on too, you know, I'm not that bad myself. We see a nice Expo. We should see a Fireball on that cannon, I believe, because he does need to get that damage in. No, he's just going to be playing patient, actually very well done. Playing patient even though there's only 1 minute left in the game, not going aggressive with a Fireball, still trying to cycle as optimally as possible to get back to another Expo to keep the pressure going, and there is that Expo. Although 2 bomber shots do come down, and yo, Betfas gets a lock. Wait, I missed it because I thought Newbie was still stalling, but no. Betfas does get a small Expo lock in the left, and just like that, everything is changing. Betfas constantly cycling, is back to another Expo in 1 more card, I believe, and he should be back right about now to go for the Expo and keep that pressure going. Newbie is now stuck on the defensive. You can see that even though Newbie has that Drill Evo Snowball combination, he's not able to use it because Betfas is just constantly keeping him on the back end. And this is how you play matchups like this, guys. You want to constantly go in so that they can't go for their drill poisons or their drill snowballs, because if you do that, you're just going to leave yourself susceptible to getting out damaged. Beautiful defense by Betfas, goes log on the first drill so that he won't get caught by that snowball. He gets another fireball down, and just like that, Betfas is in the lead for the first time all game. Another Xbow does come down, 15 seconds left, and Newbie makes the mistake of poisoning high, which means he will not be able to poison on the tower. Looks like a panic by Newbie gets that drill plus snowball in, but Betfas can just log that first goblin, and that will be good game. What an amazing comeback, beautifully orchestrated game against an honestly underratedly difficult matchup. I think this is a pretty tough one against one of the best drill players in the world. Very well done by Betfas, very educational match right there. Alright, Betfas versus Emerson, and on top we see the Evo Zap, a Heal Spirit, and a Dagger Duchess, which to me can only mean one thing. It's going to be either Goblin Giant Sparky or Giant Sparky as the deck. And Betfas is currently above 3,800 medals, so a player playing Sparky at 3,800 can only mean one thing as well to me. It should be Agony King, one of the best Sparky players of all time. We do see the Evo Wizard come down, which should mean it's going to be Giant instead of Goblin Giant, because there's no Evolution Goblin Giant available anymore. There is the Giant, and Betfas will immediately go for the Xbow opposite lane. Agony chooses to ignore this Xbow entirely, and looks like he might be going all in on this push. You guys might be wondering why Betfas went Xbow on the inner tile. It's because if it was ignored, once it takes the tower, it will turn and help out, and maybe even pull the Giant from the Tesla. But this defense is going to be really tough. We see a Knight on the Sparky, Tesla in the middle, Skellies for the Mini P.E.K.K.A, which will get clipped by the Heal Spirit, but Betfas is back to the Evo Archers, which is going to be absolutely huge, because if he wasn't back to the Evo Archers, I don't think he could have defended that push, but it looks like he scheduled and cycled everything accordingly to his own plan, which was to have Evo Archers to get him out of that situation. A nice E-Spirit in front of that Evo Archer to force out a Zap by Agony, and overall this is a beautiful single elixir for Betfas, basically the best start you could ever have. And I want you guys to pay attention to that sequence again, because I know a lot of you have had the situation where the opponent goes for a Golem or a Sparky or a Giant in the back, you go Expo opposite, and they just ignore it and go all in, which is what happened just now. But Betfas, with his nicely played defenses, was able to get out of it and actually survive. Interestingly enough, Agony goes for a Sparky behind the other side instead of behind this Giant, and instead goes for a Heal Spirit behind the Giant, and that Heal Spirit is so annoying, man, because it just invalidates your skeletons. We have to see a Fireball on that Mini P.E.K.K.A, which is pretty nice, because actually this Evo Tesla staying alive does mean we have another Pulse coming in for the Sparky, but those minions are pretty problematic. Beautiful Tesla by Betfas, beautifully timed as well. That was honestly very creative, and a very nice solution to a tough spot. And so Agony goes for a Sparky opposite. This time, Betfas goes Expo in the right instead of going full defense, and Agony will let it lock on, going for an Evo Wizard after the fact. Betfas gets those archers to snipe the Evo Wizard. Can he survive? Again, Agony basically ignored it and went all in. So Knight for the Sparky first. We should see an E-Spirit to reset that Sparky charge after the fact. Yes, we will. And then we'll see Skellies and maybe even a Fireball on these minions. Yes, we do. And that is just such a well-orchestrated defense. He might take a Sparky shot here, and that's fine as long as he doesn't take another one. A nice tornado attempt by Agony. That is crazy. He is known for those plays. But unfortunately for him, Betfas had his number, had the defense on lockdown, and that was a beautiful win against Giant Sparky. Honestly, very good exercise in when the opponent ignores your Expo and you still have to defend afterwards. That's exactly how it's supposed to be done. Alright, we got Betfas versus Nikoko, and as you can see, Nikoko does have a #1 ladder finish, and he is a very well-known bridge spam player. No exception in this game, he's going to be playing bridge spam with the Evo Battle Ram, Evo Furnace, should also have a Boss Bandit, Spirit Empress, and Goblin Curse in this deck. So I guess you could say it's the CEO of boosted cards in one deck, as you see a Boss Bandit, Curse, and Rage played at the bridge right as I say that. You can't make this up. But this is going to be a good match, and I think this is actually going to be not too bad for Betfas, because this deck that Nikoko is playing, I'm not sure what the rest of the cards are. I think, of course, there's an Empress, but there might be a Zap or another spell like Arrows, but what I do know is that they don't have a big spell, and that's all that matters, because you guys know that if you can't break through with Expos, your secondary win condition is going to be Spell Cycle, and when they don't have a big spell to match your Spell Cycle, it usually looks pretty good. So the way I foresee this match going is Betfas gets some perfect defensive sequences, doesn't let Nikoko break through, might not get Expo locks himself, because they still have, you know, Boss Bandit, Furnace, Empress, lots of good Expo counters, but even if Betfas can't break through, he'll be patient, he'll take his fireballs when he needs to, and he should still get the dub at the end of the day. So I think this is actually going to be not too bad of a matchup for Betfas, and I'm excited to see how he handles this bridge spam matchup. You actually see a Spirit Empress cycled by Nikoko in the back. Betfas smashes that with an Xbow opposite lane. Boss Bandit will come down with the Evo Archers instantaneously. Look at that reaction time as the Boss Bandit ability does come down. Really nice skeletons by Betfas actually to pull that Boss Bandit all the way to the other side of the board, and that way Nikoko was actually able to defend the Expo in a bad way, and Betfas cutting the Boss Bandit all the way to the left meant he could keep those evil archers getting their power shots in, so that was very smart, and gets the late E-Spirit Knight to retarget that Empress off the tower. Beautiful, beautiful sequence by Betfas. Right as I said, he probably won't break through because Nikoko does have the Barb Barrel. That's what I was missing in this deck. Betfas has no problem and actually does get a huge Expo lock with a very smart usage of the skeletons to get the Boss Bandit back. Now we'll see an Evo Tesla come down, an Evo Ram forced as well, and you guys will see an underrated part about Betfas' playstyle, and one of the most optimal ways to play Expo in general is actually using Expos for ulterior purposes rather than just going for Expos to get a lock. You can see that in this instance, Betfas was able to force out the Evo Ram because he had the Expo. In other instances, he goes Expo to force out more Elixir or more troops the opponent might want to use to defend their push and support instead. So the way Betfas uses Expo is either to get a lock, of course, or to force stuff out in such a way that the opponent does not have the ability to use those troops with their big pushes. And I feel like that is just a very nice way to play this deck, because it can be pretty tricky to defend huge pushes if you don't orchestrate them and you don't allow the opponent to or rather, if you allow the opponent to orchestrate them and you allow them to build, a huge, say, Evo Ram, Evo Furnace, Spirit Empress push, for example. Betfas, of course, just not allowing that to happen at all. Very smart Expos. We might see some defensive Expos come down at some point as well in this situation, because now Nikoko is going to be cycling cards in the same lane as Betfas to, of course, not let him go for any more Expos, but he doesn't really care. He just needs to chill and defend. We see an Evo Furnace up high. We should see a Fireball in a second, because those Fire Spirits are really problematic. No, we don't actually, because that one Archer does get on top, and that Furnace was actually taken care of without the need for a Fireball. That's pretty smart as well. Evo Ram will come down by Nikoko. Betfas is going to have to defend this because this is going to be pretty tricky. I mean, Evo Ram is really good. Looks like it's actually not really a problem. Just gets the Tesla plus log and beautiful catch on that Barb Barrel too. All these minor details that might not seem like a big deal, but they really are, guys. Catching every single Barb Barrel, logging at the perfect times. All these things might not seem like they add up, but they really do. They really, really do. And you will see Betfas, it's kind of second nature to him. He's never going to let that not happen. He's always going to catch a Barb Barrel, for example, but when you're playing your own Expo Cycle gameplay and you're running the deck yourself, you need to try and get consistent with those plays as well, because you really do need to be hitting all of those Barb Barrel catches, all of those perfectly timed log to reset attack animations, all of those things. Really nice high Evo Tesla will actually snipe that Evo Furnace. And actually, interesting part of Betfas' playstyle, guys, he doesn't use a lot of defensive Expos, I've noticed from watching him today. He's just going for a lot of defensive Teslas. Ground Empress is crazy, by the way. That's how you know Nikoko's low in Elixir. In triple Elixir playing a Ground Empress. And again, just easily defended. Uses his Evo Archers perfectly because they're actually kind of unkillable unless Nikoko goes for a Curse plus Rage. And now Betfas gets a lock in the left. Ground Empress for the second time. Betfas just made that look like a 100-0 matchup in his favor against, again, one of the best bridge spam players in the world. So very well done. Beautiful performance by Betfas. And I just want to highlight again that amazing sequence in single Elixir with that Boss Bandit cut with the skeletons and how he got a huge Expo lock off of that smart play. Okay, Betfas versus over Haru, and this is a good one because Haru is a very well-known Golem player, one of the best beatdown players in the world. He is playing the Cannoneer, which throws me for a bit of a loop, but I believe it should still be Golem, which is, Haru's bread and butter. We see a pump on the board, and Betfas cycles Skellies to get back to his Fireball. I assume Fireball was his 8th card in his deck, all good, and Skellies actually do get one hit for their troubles, and so this is going to be a good one because I do want to see how Betfas deals with beatdown with this deck. I know a lot of you guys wonder how to play against beatdown decks with 3.0 Xbow Cycle. Generally, it seems like they usually counter Expo, and so it's just going to be a really good learning experience to see this. You'll also notice that Betfas is playing it very safe. He doesn't know Haru's full deck, and in general, when you see a pump right at the start of the match, you might not know the opponent's full deck either, so it is much safer to just go for a Fireball on the first pump rather than going for an Expo to try and punish, because you really don't know what your opponent has. You don't know what they're going to pull out, and so it's much better better and safer to take a measured approach to it and just take the fireball rather than going for a risky Xbow. So I like that safety by Betfas here, and just going for a Tesla, just resetting up high, Haru resetting with his pump as well. And even though it is a -1 trade fireballing a pump every time, it is tower damage as well, and generally against some golem matchups you're not really going to break through. Right now it looks like Haru, I want to say he might have an Evo E-Drag in this deck, because I feel like golem pump decks generally do run E-Drag a fair amount, and if that is the case, then his last card should be E-Drag, Golem, and Tornado. And in a deck like this, it's not going to be that easy to break through against, especially when they have a card like Prince, which, you know, Prince is one of the most broken cards in the game, and just a pretty decent Xbow counter as well. There is the E-Drag, as I was mentioning, so my case overall for this is it might be a good idea to just get some good defense, and you might just end up defending for the whole game in a Golem situation like this, especially against Golem Pump, where they don't have a big spell. That being said, Betfas does make a case for the offensive Exo, does actually get a very nice lock, goes for a knight up high instead of activating the king tower, just goes for a nice knight defense. I guess he doesn't need the activated king tower against that E-Drag, and Evo Furnace pretty well controlled with a log and then the archers, and so overall that was a very nice punish by Betfas with the Expo. And even though he does get a lock, he's probably not going to take tower, he's still going to have to defend for the rest of the game, so I want to see exactly how Betfas gets these defensive sequences in. But you guys can see exactly what I was talking about with that patience, where he fireballed the pumps at the start, he did not go for any crazy punishes, and only after Haru went for an aggressive golem push with the E-Drag plus Tornado did Betfas finally punish with an Expo, executing it perfectly and getting that Expo lock. And so right now Evo E-Drag also controlled very well by Betfas. Might even get the King Tower activated right now. No, he will not, unfortunately. Nothing available in cycle, but it's all good. Maintenance break, what the heck, at the end of the season. But anyways, split Evo Archers, and we get some nice dual lane pressure. Again, tying back to that idea of troops being a nice counter push unit in the Expo deck as well, with that Knight Evo Archer on one side and the Expo push plus Evo Archer on the other side, as we do get a second Expo lock on the right, and this time Betfas is in the lead in the right side and on the left side too, so both lanes with a pretty dominant damage lead. He did elect to ignore that pump instead of fireballing, so it looks like late game he might be able and willing to be a bit more aggressive against these pumps, but generally he is still playing pretty safe at the start, and again biding his time to get that perfect punish in. Very nice fireball on defense. It'll be very crucial, guys, to get fireballs on defense against golem decks, especially when the golemite pops and you have, you know, a nice little sequence. And there, right there, is a beautiful King Tower activation where you can go for a Tesla plus either a Knight or an E-Spirit to activate off an E-Drag. So he does get the King Tower activation, albeit about 4 minutes into the match. You know, an activation is an activation, so very, very nice stuff. We will see a good fireball on that Evo Furnace. Going to have to get a log as well to clear it up. Very high value log, and as you can see, Tesla, second one there, trying to snipe that E-Drag from the side. Archers being protected pretty well. King Tower activation coming in clutch as well, and Betfas' defense is just on lockdown. He is doing very well. I will say that we probably won't see it in this game, but a general tip I'll give you guys against Golem Pump is defensive Expos are not the worst in a matchup like this, because you can go for a defensive Expo in the middle and then a Tesla on the corner to snipe something like the E-Drag. That being said, Betfas doesn't really need it in this situation, just leaning on his Evo Archers, and I think Archers are one of the biggest cornerstones of this matchup as well, because you can see the opponent's deck, Tornado, Bar Barrel as the only spells. No real way to kill Archers except for Tornado with the E-Drag, so Betfas doing a great job of protecting his Archers, especially the Evo Archers. Haru can't do anything but sit there and give the good game, as Betfas plays a perfect game of patience at the start and capitalization plus perfect defense in the second half of the match to get an Expo lock multiple times and get perfect defense the whole way through to get a great win against Golem Pump.